Welcome to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Arey, and this is all of the Easter eggs, references, and jokes that you might have missed in Rick and Morty's second episode of Season 5. There's a lot to unpack here. The episode is about existentialism, the struggle for meaning and identity, with fart jokes.
Dad! Summer, you f***ing idiot.
First of all, I got a lot of grief on Twitter for not mentioning that Noop Noop is in the opening credits. So now I've mentioned him.
God damn! Thanks, Noob Noob.
The episode begins with Rick saying,
Christian God is real. He's been asleep for thousands of years. We're gonna sneak up there and kill him.
This seems like a one-off joke, but it actually establishes the theme of the episode and comes full circle in its final shot. In the past couple seasons, you really have to look at Rick and Morty episodes as the process of a writer's room. Like in this scene, where they're sitting around a table that's actually a proxy for the writer's room table, and the idea for an episode where Rick kills the Christian God is literally shot down. But also, every member of the family is trying to kill decoys, in essence to prove that they are the original and therefore the creator or God. Later, Beth says,
"We are decoys brought into the world by an unloving God."
In this case, the unloving God is Rick, or even several decoy Ricks. And later, he even says,
I'm not a man. I'm God. You're just made in my image.
Is it me, or is the house just filled with pictures of Snuffles? In every version of the house, I noticed more and more pictures of my favorite Doug lookalike. Then this guy runs through.
Hunt me, somebody hunt me!
Don't hunt him to completion.
Again, think of this as a pitch that was thrown out in the writer's room, was dismissed, and then led into the conversation, hey, what if the family was hunting each other instead of this guy? And Jerry is the guy who just can't move past this idea.
The cryopod is what confuses you, Jerry. Can't you see we've moved on to higher stakes?
So this weird little creature that only exists to be hunted is a metaphor for the decoys who exist only to be killed to protect the real family. So here's an interesting thought. All of the Ricks we see with buzzers on their wrists actually created decoys themselves, because the original Rick would not have given one of these alert watches to a clone that he created. So every time one of these guys looks at their watch, it means that this is a Rick that actually did create multiple copies. The whole decoy storyline, like clones or alternate dimension selves, is a meta-commentary on television storytelling and animation in particular. In Rick and Morty, there's never a guarantee that we're watching the same Rick and Morty that we saw in the pilot. In fact, the famous ticket swap at the end of the Blips and Chips episode heavily implies that we weren't watching our real Rick and Morty, and that it doesn't matter if we ever had our own Rick and Morty. They're all interchangeable. Just like on sitcoms, there's usually very little character growth. Despite having new adventures each week, characters generally stay the same. Media scholar Roberta Pearson called this character accumulation. So, on Rick and Morty, the reason that everything always seems to revert back to a mean balance of Jerry being useless and Rick being a nihilist is because we could easily just be watching another version of the family that never experienced some of the events that we've seen come before. They could be clones or decoys from another dimension, or a simulation that Rick is running in his garage. It's the Wile E. Coyote theory. We see Wile E. Coyote get smashed and fall off things repeatedly, but in the next scene he's fine. So is this the same coyote, or a coyote from a different dimension in a different reality? Or are we simply watching hundreds of coyotes hunt hundreds of different lookalike roadrunners in the same desert? This episode leans heavily into this idea, with characters struggling to earn the right to change by proving they are real. The irony here is that while they're all trying to prove that they're real, we know that none of them are real because they're in a TV show. It's our belief that they're the originals that would give them life. The next Smith family we see is on vacation in Italy, lounging by the pool. Notice that Morty's become very friendly with an older Italian man, and there are peaches dangling prominently in the foreground. This seems like an obvious reference to Call Me By Your Name, where a teenage boy has an affair with an older man, and there's a peach in it. The peach's role in the film is alluded to when Rick mentions the Yosemite t-shirt.
I know about the Yosemite t-shirt, Morty. You know you can use tissues, right?
I can't finish without it!
That shirt, like the peach, was a decoy for something else. Now, while they're packing, I love the little details, like the I Pizza Italy t-shirt, even though pizza didn't actually come from Italy, a phone charger, and a book called Horses of Italy. Because remember, Beth is a very successful horse heart surgeon. Later, Rick says,
You think I'd lie to you about why we're on vacation, Morty? I wouldn't lie to you. Well, that's a lie. Huh.
And this makes him doubt that he's real. See, this is an old riddle of the two guards and two doors. One of the guards is always lying, the other's always telling the truth. But the lying guard would never say, I am a liar, because that would be him telling the truth. And being a liar is another way of saying that you're being fake or a decoy. So Rick really trapped himself into an identity loop here. He also says,
They go on fun, self-contained terrestrial adventures and...
Which ends up being true when it's revealed that the original family is in space with another decoy, or maybe not, Space Beth. Then Rick sits down to try to downshift the story.
Decided it was maybe better as a kind of kinetic mislead for another special episode.
Oh, cool.
He's implying that the decoys are just a way to keep the family home to watch Interdimensional Cable. But you'll remember that the anthology episode last season was essentially the same structure. It started off as a series of vignettes that evolved into a meta-commentary on storytelling. Also, the caveman vampire is dressed like Fred Flintstone. When another decoy Rick says,
If you really want to know what happened to Beth's mom, well,
this is another way of saying that these families are resisting growth and change. Maybe some alternate version might reveal one of the show's biggest questions, but they won't be allowed to do this on the show we're watching because of character reversion. The mysteries have to stay intact, so we keep watching the show. When the Smith family disables the decoys, the password
80085
is how you write boobs on a calculator. Morty says,
Damn, like Westworld.
because the hosts on that show were frozen with a simple code command.
I need assistance.
Freeze all motor functions.
This exchange
So you do know what a happy family looks like.
I know what a fake one looks like.
is another way of saying that in the actual show Rick and Morty, there will never be solid character growth and change, because any family that is happy won't be interesting enough to maintain a storyline. They even allude to this later when another family kills the most fulfilled Smith family that we've ever seen.
He looked happy.
And this also makes this Morty question the value of his own existence. Why does he want to keep on living if he's just going to be miserable? Rick says,
It's more termite infestation than Blade Runner.
referencing two great sci-fi movies, Starship Troopers, where Earth fights a war against an infestation of space bugs that were originally a metaphor for communism, and Blade Runner. The idea being that you can't sympathize with bugs, but you can sympathize with the replicants of the distant future year of Los Angeles 2019.
All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain.
When the new family comes in, we're already seeing variations. Morty says,
Wow, like Ex Machina.
Yes, Morty, like Ex Machina, but don't them.
a movie about Oscar Isaac building female robots to pass the Turing test that, like Westworld, end up being sex slaves. And Rick also answers,
Simulated one, yes.
because again, we're seeing small variations. During the shootout, Rick says,
Fight them.
Classic Prisoner's Dilemma, Beth.
and I'm pretty sure this is a reference to the 60s British sci-fi show The Prisoner, where, long story short, the main guy, number 6, is never sure if he can trust the other guy, number 2. The two Smith families have an interchangeable conversation showing that the very concept of self is programmable. No one is special and life is meaningless.
Sorry, Decoy Beth, but this only ends one way, with one of us accepting we're a decoy. And once he knows he's a decoy, he'll know he won't be safe until he's killed the real Rick.
The surviving Rick goes to the whiteboard, again another staple of a writer's room, to explain the Asimov cascade. Albro Lundy, the show's writer, explained where this idea came from.
I think some of those drawings are like things that I did at like 3 a.m. when I was trying to figure out how exactly this pattern of decoys discovering who they were and then running into other decoys would work.
Rick makes a Highlander reference.
It's basically Highlander rules now. Really? 1986? There can be only one?
It actually blows my mind how these kids today don't know Highlander. Ancient war between immortals where they can only kill each other by cutting off their heads, and there can be only one.
There can be only one.
One of the worst sequels ever was Highlander 2: The Quickening, which revealed that they were actually all aliens. Kind of the reverse of this episode, where it's revealed that the aliens turn out to be people. The concept of an Asimov cascade was invented for this show. It's a spin on Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, which establish parameters for robots never harming humans. In this instance, it's the opposite, where the decoys are created to attract firepower away from the family, and this happens exponentially. When Rick says,
You ever make a copy of a copy?
this is a direct quote from the movie Mortplicity.
You make a copy of a copy, it's not quite as sharp as, well, the original.
This episode, Mortyplicity, is named after that movie, where Michael Keaton tries to balance his home and work lives by making clones. But then the clones decide they want to have fun too, so they create more clones to do the work. And the copy of a copy is this guy.
I like that car.
Jerry says,
I say we split up. Some of us take down squids while the rest
Engage
of
in
us...
B stories we'll have to track simultaneously? No thank you.
another meta writer's room joke. When the family wears these crappy squid costumes, this proves that they are later modeled decoys, because they're copying the other decoys' higher quality squid costumes that they made earlier.
Say decoy again.
F you.
Summers says,
I knew we didn't seem like Colorado people.
a possible nod to Dan Harmon's show Community, which is set in the Centennial State. Decoy Rick is guessing why the squids don't like him.
Maybe jealous of my penis size. I had sex with their queen. My dick's too big.
Another example of a decoy trying to find a reason for him to be exceptional and the real thing. Before dying, he says,
Honestly, probably for the best.
which I actually think is totally something that the real Rick would say. I also like that the imaginary squid people have built squid-shaped spaceships, like how the tripod aliens in War of the Worlds walk around in tripods. Later, there's also a squid targeting system, which makes you wonder, why go through the trouble of making decoy squid ships have decoy interiors if the other decoys never see the inside of them? Back in his lab, Rick is electrocuting a frog creature, kind of like when Thomas Edison electrocuted and tortured an elephant to convince people to give him money. But Rick electrocuting a creature for a snack is the most Rickest Rick thing I can ever think of. In the montage, we see Rick operating his own brain, a callback to Hannibal Lecter's treatment of Ray Liotta in Hannibal. This scene, where he's painted like the wall, is a callback to the horror movie When a Stranger Calls. Summer also slashes her wrist like she's cutting herself just to see if she can feel something or if she can feel real. This exchange...
Shh. It's too quiet.
You skipped quiet.
I didn't skip shit. It's obviously quiet if it's too quiet.
...is a play on this cliched line.
It's quiet.
Too quiet.
Then they're kidnapped by a Rick Leatherface, a callback to Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and he brings them to a dilapidated version of their house in the woods, meaning that the decoy that created this decoy actually took the time to make a house that was overgrown with plants and falling apart. He has a Buffalo Bill-like obsession for stealing skin.
It rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Can't kill you yet. The skin needs to be fresh.
Now this row of duplicates actually shows a devolution, from a perfect organic to cybernetic, a robotic one that looks like Bender from Futurama, and finally a scarecrow. Then they're saved by wooden puppets with bad speakers.
Because we're all in this together. Come on, there's a place we can go.
Who also make cuckoo clock sounds like they're out of Geppetto's workshop. The sanctuary they travel to felt very much like a riff on Total Recall, with this red canyon and a cavern that integrates technology. The Windwolf film has the vampire once again reminding us of Christianity and crosses.
Christianity hasn't been invented yet. Crosses are just baby teas to me now.
And this line,
I got out. Please, don't invite me back in.
Is a mashup of Michael Corleone and Godfather 3.
Just when I thought I was out.
You going to invite me in?
Puppet Jerry is excited to have found varnish that will protect his wooden hide from the elements, protecting him as he crosses the river.
I just want to live!
Now this Rick has loads of decoy alert watches as trophies to show that he's killed a ton of decoys. In the garage, he says,
Whip up a Star Fox Boss Season 4 callback, make it flashy.
Now this is calling back to the boxy graphics of the N64 game Star Fox and the giant hologram that gained sentience in Season 4.
I have mass! I'm a god now!
Then there's a whole run of different Ricks. Bizarro Rick, Thatch People Rick, who are using dirt to explain the Asimov cascade, Machine Rick, Ceramic Rick, and then a fleet of squid ships, Rick's cars, and Rick's cars disguised as squid ships heading toward the beacon. He tells Morty,
What? No, Morty, I'm gonna loop it.
Which means that maybe we weren't actually watching the original message. It could have been part of a loop, not live, and thus kind of like a decoy. Back at the White House, Keith David returns as the president to take a quick dig at the Electoral College.
Mr. President, I think the point of the Electoral College is
to preserve slavery?
That's true.
While Summer gets a Darth Maul saber, Morty gets a Zygerian whip, and Jerry gets a .22 pistol. Then we get to the Muppet decoys, maybe a reference to the Muppet episode of Community.
This is adventure, about to go soon. We're gonna go anywhere in the balloon. Yes.
That episode aired when Dan Harmon was kicked off the show. Now when he came back, the characters dismissed this season as the gas leak year that made everybody act strange.
From the guy who's had how many psychotic breaks on campus? Are we including the gas leak year?
So they act like it wasn't real, and they were all essentially decoys. And this is the funniest Rick and Morty line since season 1.
Look, Beth, I might not be the real Rick, but even if I'm not...
And here, Rick unleashes his energy claws like Wolverine. Last episode, Rick mentioned suicide capsules in their teeth.
There are suicide capsules in all of your teeth. Do what you want with that.
Like we saw Hydra use in First Avenger.
Cut off one head. 2 more. Shall take its place.
And in this episode, we actually get to see the suicide pill in action.
You.
When Rick says,
I love you guys. I've totally changed.
It's a death sentence because remember, character reversion. Lasting change is not allowed on a TV show. Then the Hunt Me Man appears again, symbolizing the episode itself. The episode's only goal is to show decoys being hunted. That's the episode's driving purpose, just like this guy's only driving purpose is to be hunted. And he's even willing to steal focus to make it happen. Kinda reminds me of Butterbot.
What is my purpose?
You pass butter.
Oh my god.
After a quick cameo from Space Beth, we get this haunting epilogue set to Queens Who Wants to Live Forever. Jerry's varnish ends up being a monkey paw's wish as he's abused by beavers, a humanoid woodpecker in a post-apocalyptic era, then alien cybernetic cowboys, and finally the crucifixion.
Christianity again? After cowboys?
You went all the way back around?
This final moment brings the episode full circle. Rick began by saying,
Christian God is real. He's been asleep for thousands of years. We're going to sneak up there and kill him.
Just like Jesus is one embodiment of God, and here he is being killed. But this is also a decoy Jesus, a copy of the original from history. So the episode ties all the themes neatly together millions of years in the future. Well, that's all the Easter eggs that I found, but if you found any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Arey.